to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 78. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is back with me. Barely. I think he's struggling today. We are in Brasilia, Brazil, the capital of Brazil, for UFC Fight Night 95, Cyborg versus Landsberg. We are at the Windsor Plaza, Brasilia. That's right. It was cheap enough down here that we could get the host hotel. So that's been kind of a nice little luxury. You don't always get to do that. The hotel rooms were cheap enough that we did. And somehow my man Cold Coffee got the 13th floor upgrade. He's up here high in the sky overlooking Brasilia. It's not the most scenic city you've ever seen, but you do have a nice view of what there is to see. My man has a doorbell on his door, a refrigerator in his room that I don't have, which I can only assume is because they knew me and they were like,
they're like, we don't want to have to refill that thing over and over. So you don't have a doorbell on your door?
I don't think I have a doorbell.
I bet you haven't noticed.
Maybe I just didn't notice.
You probably didn't notice. Now you're gonna go down there and I'm gonna ring your
Ring
doorbell.
my doorbell. Well, Cold Coffee, I feel like you've been struggling. You did do Hidalgo last week. You did have to come pretty much straight from Hidalgo to here. Maybe that's it. It seems like it's been a rough one for you.
I'm tired. Yeah, well, that first leg, only getting a couple hours of sleep and then pretty much rolling straight into it until whatever, like 2:30 in the morning last night.
Right.
So yeah, in effect, working on 3 hours of sleep and then rolling straight through. Yeah, that beat me up. Yeah, I'm just kind of tired.
It's been a tough one, but that's all right. That's all right. We're going to re-energize it here as we got these 1-liter bottles of frosty beverage.
These are giant.
Antarctica.
This is good stuff. We like the Antarctica.
We basically, we like the cheapest beers here.
Originals.
Pretty much everybody makes
These
fun
aren't
of us,
the
I think.
cheapest ones, are they?
No, they're not, but I mean, we like Antarctica. We like
Skol.
Originals, that's
Originals
our
are
jam.
our favorite.
That's our jam, but they didn't
But yeah,
have
we drank the
those.
Skol, and I know everybody else
Skol,
seems to laugh at us when we tell
Brahma,
them we drink the Skol. I
Itaipava.
like Brahma too. Yeah, I like that one.
I like all that.
I like all those.
And we get made
Those
fun
not
of.
good ones?
I don't think so.
I like them.
I don't think so. We
Well.
get kind of laughed at.
I do drink PBR for a living, so.
For a living. I love it. Man, we got to get that sponsorship. We got to get to work on that. All right, let's talk about it. We are, of course, down here for UFC Fight Night 95, Cyborg versus Landsberg. The main event has been the story all week long, and the way it should be. I mean, this is a big fight. Cyborg headlining. She's making her second UFC appearance. The first one, of course, back in May. She was on that huge stadium card in Curitiba, but she was just on the main card. This time, she's actually the headliner. She's facing Lina Landsberg. Let's talk first about Lina Landsberg.
Oh yes, let's.
I think you've been
let's talk about
I
Lina.
think you've been happy running into Lina Landsberg here and there. But I want to say, I mean, picking anybody against Cyborg is just you can't do it. I mean, how do you pick somebody against Cyborg? But I will say this, and I've said it before. There's certain people when you get around them, you can tell that they're kind of trying to hype themselves up. They're trying to make themselves believe that they have a chance. Lina, to me, has been the calmest, coolest, most collected. Like, I really feel like she thinks I'm the one that's going to beat Cyborg.
Yeah, I think it goes to that right there. I think she firmly believes it. I mean, granted, we've seen girls before talk the game, and I think they believed it as well. You know, like when we saw Leslie Smith fight her. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that Leslie believed that she could go in there and give her a tough run, you know, and we saw that wasn't the case. You know, as tough as Leslie is, you know, once you start taking those shots, you know, I think anybody would fold on them. But you know, Lina seems to believe it. There's something about it, man. Maybe we're just all just won over by the fact that she just flashes that smile, and you're just like, okay, I want to believe you. I want to believe you. But she seems confident, you know. And but when you see the size and you see him match up like we saw today when they faced off at the media or the media day face-offs or whatever, it's hard to discount that size difference between the two when you look at the size of their arms.
Yeah,
and
we should say it's a little deceiving if you look at just the face-off because Cyborg did have heels on,
yeah,
whereas Lina had tennis shoes on. So if you're only looking at the height difference, now that's a little off. But get to what you were getting to because it's not just the height.
It's not just the height. I mean, when you look like the thickness between the two, like Cyborg is she's a bigger female. You know, she's got bigger arms, bigger legs. You know, that doesn't. You know, that also means that's more energy that she's going to burn the night of the fight. You know, Lina might run circles around her for all we know, you know, and maybe that'll lead to, you know, wearing down, you know, Cyborg. But, you know, as for Lina wanting to be a striker and go in there, I've yet to see anybody stand toe-to-toe and throw bombs with Chris and last for a long time. I mean,
you said it real well the other day. You said, listen, I mean, two problems are, first, we've never seen Cyborg rocked.
Yeah.
And second, if you want to get inside, and Lena's known for her elbows, and she is a Muay Thai specialist, but in order to get into the range where you're going to punch, you got to be in the range where you can get punched.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's real dangerous. I mean, and as much as Chris is sort of struggling with this weight thing, she still is up. She's got good energy. I wouldn't say bubbly, because I feel like that'd be just a joke to say that Cyborg's bubbly, because there's nothing really bubbly about her.
But she has been kind of energetic.
But she has. She's been energetic. She's been joking around. And you can't help think that, maybe this weight cut isn't as hard as we think. I know it's hard, but I think she's done it enough times that she's dealing with it better. I think we've seen her in the past where it's those raw emotions. You saw the one video, where she was kind of crying through it. And, honestly, I give her kudos for as much as she is just like an open book.
I
love it how open she is. And, I mean, not every fighter is willing to do that with reason. I mean, a lot of times you're cranky, you're probably saying things you don't want to get out there. And we saw something the other day where she was arguing with like her diet coach or fitness coach or whoever kind of suggested the birth pills and all the other sort of stuff. And, a lot of camps would kind of keep that stuff to themselves. They wouldn't throw that stuff out there. And the fact that she's willing to bear all for everybody, I think it's commendable. I think that's what brings people into the sport, is the fact that they're looking there and they see these fighters open up everything. Because I think most people assume when they look at the fighters, they're only seeing what the fighters want to give, and I believe that's true. I mean, just like any brand, I mean, what's unique about the fighters and the fact is that their business is their brand. It's their name. It's how they put themselves out there in front of people. And, you have to be aware of how you're doing that sort of thing. You can't just go out there and say anything willy-nilly, because it will catch up to you. And the same thing with this. If you start showing a lot of emotions, you're always going to have those images out there. Somebody like, oh, remember when she was having that hella weight cut and she's crying and she's doing that other sort of stuff. But the fact that she went out there and just threw that stuff out there and just shows it, I love it. I love seeing what she's doing right now.
I do too. I feel like, for whatever reason, I don't know, we're learning more about Cyborg as a person, or just like her personality. I mean, we know her, of course, as a beast of a fighter. I mean, that's been out there for a long time. But I don't know. I feel like we're really like kind of getting to see her personality and see what she's about and being open and honest. So that's been very refreshing to see. The other thing, too, that I do want to say is this whole weight cut situation has been a little bit bizarre, because I feel like the weight cut, is definitely an issue. But she fought at 140 pounds in May, and she was under. And now, they went to this whole his whole deal where, as you said, having the conflict with her dietitian, George Lockhart, where now she's taking birth control as a potential means of I guess, helping her water load, and then that's going to help her cut. And I don't know, like, I feel in some ways, I'm just confused. I feel like in some ways, they kind of mess with the recipe. One of those things, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's like it worked the first time, and we saw the video. It wasn't fun, but they did make it. And to tamper with that is I feel a little bit weird. And now it seems like Cyborg's weight has become the story of this entire week. And I know it's always been a little bit of the story, but now I feel like it's entirely the story. So as we comment on that, let's welcome in Fernanda Prates, who was able to swing by. She was not here as we first got started, but she was able to wrap up her work and give us a little go. She has been front and center on this matchup from the very beginning, because Fernanda actually got to come here to Brasilia for the on sale. I guess, a couple months ago when the tickets went on sale. You actually got to interview both Cyborg and Lena Landsberg. And then also, yesterday, you got to sit down with both of them and have some extended interviews with them as well. So just give us your thoughts. I mean, first, Lena, I think we're all a little bit taken by her. I think we're all, like, she does seem like she's got some kind of confidence or some air about her. But, I mean, this is Cyborg.
Yeah, well, first of all, rude. Nobody waited for me to start the podcast.
We got things to do.
We would never get started.
We got churrascaria. We got churrascaria to go.
And I get here, they're already drinking out of giant bottles of beer. So, That's yeah.
1 litro.
The podcast tradition. Seriously, it's just giant bottles.
It's
that
just a
people-
litro. What's a litro? I mean, that's got to be like 4 or 5 ounces.
At least.
Just for
It
context,
can't be like a
guys,
pint
No.
or anything, because a
bottles
pint
people
sounds big.
pour their contents into glasses like civilized human beings. But
It's a hotel. I
Ken
don't
is
think we have
drinking
glasses.
right out of the bottle, and so is John,
Hmm.
which means I'm hanging out with the right crew.
Damn straight.
Okay, so Cyborg and Lena. Yeah, I was here for the media day, and I also got to have some one-on-one time with both. And what struck me about Lena from the start, and I think what the same happened to Mike and Ben and the guys from our staff who actually got a chance to talk to her, we all talked about the same thing, her confidence. Because, and we have talked about this in the past, we have, after so many years, we can kind of sense when it's a front and when it's an act and when it really comes from within. And she just radiates confidence. She's not intimidated. And I mean, I do think that her extensive Muay Thai experience is a factor that helps, just because she's used to violence and she likes it and she feels very comfortable with it. And also, on the other end, I do think that she's not going to be as aggressive as people are probably thinking, that, oh, these are true strikers. She's going to come out guns blazing. She's just going to be in Cyborg's face.
That would be a mistake.
That will be a mistake. And she has said it. She said it from the start. She said, I'm going to be strategic and smarter than her.
It's funny because, normally on Fight Week we do a thing we call Who You Got. We ask professional fighters, who do you think is going to win the fight, and get their take on it. Of course, we do our own media picks as well, but it's kind of fun to get professional fighters' opinions. This week, we kind of had a feeling with the odds being the way they were that not many people were going to be, picking Lena Landsberg. So we said, let's do this a little bit different. And we did a video where we basically asked everybody, how would you beat Cyborg? What's the strategy to beat Cyborg? And, we got a variety of answers, and we got, to be honest with you, we got a lot of people that were scratching their heads and saying, hell if I know.
Or saying they were scared.
Yeah, exactly. Mike De La Torre was like, I wouldn't want to do it. But, the funny thing was, I think the one common thread was a lot of people were like, you've got to get her out of the first round. You've got to get her tired. And it's a funny strategy to be like, I think I believe it was Misha Tate against Amanda Nunes who, I think I asked her about that, and she's like, well, if my strategy is to hope she gets tired, that's a pretty shitty strategy. Don't you think? And it is a shitty strategy, but
it is a strategy.
It's realistic, right? I mean, I don't think, if you're going to beat Cyborg, I think it's like playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out back in the day. You had to, dodge Tyson for the first minute and a half, because if he touched you with any of those, you were going down.
Yeah,
and then after that first minute and a half, then you could pick them apart a little bit.
And that's what she said. Lena yesterday during our seat, I'm sober, and that's what she said. Jokes are already out, so this is a promising evening for all parties involved. When we were sitting down yesterday, Lena, I asked her about the weight and if she followed the Fight Week chatter and everything else, and she said she didn't. That she doesn't read, she doesn't look at social media, that she doesn't follow it.
She does read MMA Junkie though. She was just saying.
She was just keeping it
it's on her home screen.
Yeah.
She's got the app.
As it should.
She's got my page saved
totally,
on her phone.
totally.
I've interviewed her so many times already. Like the last time today, Kenny was there. I was like, Lena, she's already. Hi.
She's like, you again? She didn't actually.
I could just sit down and just answer for her at this point. What was it? I totally lost my line of thinking. Okay, so I talked to her about that, and she said she doesn't follow it. But then I said, but does that play into your strategy, or is that something that you see as a favorable thing to you, that your opponent is visibly struggling? And she said, yeah, I mean, she wouldn't say it in so many words, but basically that she is ready to go 5 rounds, and that she thinks that she might be a little bit debilitated because of the weight, and that will help at a longer fight. So I think that's what she's coming in with. She doesn't, from what I could gather from all the times that we talked, she doesn't think this is going to be a quick fight. And then Cyborg said, I think it's going to be a TKO for sure.
Yeah.
And I asked her, well, Lena thinks it's going to go 5 rounds. And then Cyborg was just, I'm ready for 6.
Yeah, that was great. All right, so let's talk about Cyborg, this whole weight cut thing. just minutes ago, I was on Twitter because I clarified because there was some question, I guess, does she get the extra pound or not?
Yeah.
I was able to
She
clarify.
didn't know if she was gonna get it. Yeah.
I was able to clarify with the UFC that she does get an extra pound, and then I tweeted that, and she immediately tweets back, or somebody in her camp. I think it's pretty well known that she doesn't run her own social media account, but that said, are you sure? Who told you this? Basically insinuating that their camp had no idea she could make 141. Do you guys? I mean, do you believe that? Do you think that's
do.
you have a damn bout agreement,
well,
right?
Well, that's the thing. Listen, look what we heard from Lena today when she
was
like she only did it at 140. I think they're both probably were told it's 140, 140, 140, make 140.
Right.
But maybe that's the same thing, where a lot of times they, with any of the matches, even though it does say in the contract it's the +1 like they do in Vegas and a lot of the other areas. Maybe here it's that same situation, but they didn't relay that to the fighters. Maybe they wanted to make it seem. But for Alina to say what she did, I completely agree that they probably were stressing the fact that it is 140.
Yeah.
So now what do you say to Lena where she says it's supposed to be 140? Well, I'm sorry, but the contract actually said she could be 141. I mean, granted, we think
it's 1 pound.
We think in terms it's 1 pound.
But it is a big deal.
But that's a big deal in the sense that, that's one step
that
closer to
pound.
the 145 that gets closer. I mean, because, I know we heard different amounts of how much Cyborg had to maybe lose today, whether it was 10 pounds, whether that was true, whether it's more, whether it's less. Once you start getting down to that 5-pound range where, she already looked like, she's given up a good bit.
Yeah.
And so any bit closer to that, it's going to get harder and harder. So that 1 pound extra that she can have, that's like a saving grace for her.
It's crazy to me that they wouldn't know, but you're right. That's a good point. Lena said straight up, I'll fight at 140 and nothing else.
She was scared. She was very categorical. Kenny was there, and you saw the footage afterwards. That was it. She said, I'll do 140 and nothing else. And then I asked again just to make sure. So you're saying if she doesn't make that 145-pound weight, you're not going to do it? And she said, no, probably not.
I think, you know what, and I applaud her for sticking to her guns because I think there's this kind of like mentality in MMA where like your opponent misses weight. If it's 1 pound, you go, I'll take your 20% and let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to be the person, especially in the main event. Nobody wants to be the person to be like, I screwed up the UFC's plans. But in this particular situation, where it is special circumstances, where we know Cyborg's an absolute beast at 145, where Lena Landsberg, how even though a lot of people have been calling her a featherweight, she's told everybody,
she's a bantamweight.
Ben Folt, she's actually a bantamweight.
Yeah.
I think she competed one time at featherweight, and everybody calls her a featherweight. She's a bantamweight. She's coming up to meet in the middle. I think if Cyborg misses, if Cyborg comes in at 142 or hell 141 and a half, I think you take your show money and go home.
But that's the thing. When is she gonna get a headliner? I mean, though granted, it's not her division, so they will just match her up against a bantamweight in the future, and she's gonna make the steps necessary. But if she's that confident that she's gonna win on Saturday, imagine what a win over Cyborg on your headliner will do for your career.
Yeah, and it would go a long way for her. I mean, I think it's almost one of those nobody wants to take an ass beating, and regardless of the money or whatever. So it's like if she's already thinking like, hey, I don't want to take it where it's heavier and it's more in Cyborg's favor. She's going to be more stronger. She's going to be better in shape. She's going to beat my ass better. But the fact that if she does, you can almost give her a pass at that point, because if she does them a favor, takes the fight, regardless of the loss, I would have to think that
you're going to build some goodwill with the
company. You're going to build a lot of goodwill, because they're going to, in one sense, be like, thank you very much. You just saved our main event in this country that was already hurting. Because if they can't fight Cyborg, I mean, granted, like Roy even kind of mentioned and said if something happened with one of the other fights, maybe they would move up and jump up and maybe make them the main event as opposed to the Barao event. And that could happen. But, if she came in and say it was even like 142, the thing about taking some purse, if that's what it is, that's a lot of times closer getting a bonus when you're fighting Cyborg than anything else.
Good money.
Yeah.
Because, she's making good money, but also most of these women, a lot of times, or any competitor, when they're coming there fighting, they know they might be going to lose, they're only getting that show money. And you're taking the loss, and then you're taking your show money, and then you're going home. But if you're taking that loss, you're getting your show money, and you're getting a little bonus on top of it, depending, because Cyborg, I guarantee, is getting some decent little change for this. So 20% of that or whatever, if it's only a pound, I would maybe be into it. If it's 5 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 pounds, 6 pounds, then you start getting to the point now it's maybe dangerous, because this person just didn't even want to do what they needed to do, and now they're
Right.
not being
They didn't even
professional.
try.
They didn't even try because at that point they're another weight class up.
But
You
that
know
just exposes the ridiculousness of the situation.
All right.
Because we're arguing over like freaking 4 pounds. And Lena said if they had offered me it at 145 to begin with, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
And we're just at this point where I think everybody's just kind of struggling to understand the reasoning behind
I'm not.
Yeah.
I want to say I'm not. And I agree. I think a lot of people are saying, why can't you just let her fight at 145? You don't have to make the division.
Yeah.
You don't have to make a title for it, but just let her fight at 145. I think the reason you do it at 140 is because that's how you get more people from 135 to come up and say they'll
But
take
they're
the
not
fight.
coming anyway, so you're bringing in a newcomer. That's the thing.
Right.
If it's like it's Holly and Holly will only do it at 140 or whatever,
Right.
that makes perfect sense. But you're bringing in a newcomer who would do the fight at 140. Try offering the fight at 145.
Right.
That wouldn't change anything. If anything, we would have a better promotion of the event and less weight talk. So to me, it came across as a power play. Like, we're not giving you everything, Cyborg, because 1 year ago we didn't even know she was gonna
Right.
be here, because it was like
Hell, 6 months ago.
that's what I'm saying. Like, every story that I write about it, I end up bringing that up because
Right.
it's just such a bizarre situation that we have Cyborg as a headliner, but then it's just like it's your second fight. We admit that you're a draw because they wouldn't do it if she wasn't. So it's like we're giving you what you always said you were. We know you're a draw. And they wouldn't admit that because the whole idea was Ronda is the best and Cyborg is just. So they're like we're giving you this, we're giving you the headliner, but we're not giving you everything. That it's what it comes.
I see what you're
across
saying.
as
I
to
mean,
me.
I do think obviously they wanted to try to get her to 135. I mean, at one point, I think they were trying to work her down to 140, get a few under your belt at 140. I mean, she did weigh, 139 in May, right? She was a pound under.
And then the video came out and she was near death, and they scheduled this after.
Right. I see, but I mean, I do
Oh,
understand
no, it wasn't after.
their motivation. No, it did come out after. We didn't know about it till after. The
No,
fact
no,
it was
no,
when
no.
it-
I mean the scheduling of this.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
It was before.
You're
I
right.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know they were trying to get her to go towards 135, and it is funny. I mean, I'd still probably be interested in seeing her fight Ronda Rousey just because we've just heard about it forever. I think.
Oh,
I
think everybody.
It's
would
like
love
Pacquiao
that.
Mayweather. Even though Pacquiao lost, people were still like, let's still see it anyway. I'd still like to see the fight. But I do think it. I mean, we were talking about today, Fernanda. I do think she could get to 135, but it would be. I mean, it would be a lifestyle change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it
You
would
would-
not
you would
be
need a
already-
year.
Like
guys,
she would
she's
need.
already-
She would need like a year to
She's
prepare
already
for that.
struggling. That's the thing, though. Like, what I think most people miss, and this is why I became like such a freaking Cyborg defender for the world.
Because that's someone that needs defending right there.
It's just I feel like she. Well, I think it's almost
Like, I ain't saying
it's
shit.
a little bit of a feminist
Right.
thing because she gets so much like mean.
Yeah. I hate the mean stuff.
Yeah.
I
Oh
hate
yeah,
the
she
mean
gets a lot of
stuff.
hate.
And it just makes me so like it brings out like something animalistic and like protective in me because it just I know how awful people can be.
Yeah.
And she
Don't
has
go on
been the
YouTube.
target.
People be hating some serious shit. The stuff that people say on YouTube about any video that has
Yeah,
her in it,
I don't
it's just
look.
cruel. It's
It's
just
just mean.
It
I don't
is.
look.
It's totally mean. I mean, how can you discount? I mean, when granted, you brought up Ronda. Ronda for sure is the biggest draw. I mean, well, there's Conor and then there's still Ronda, but as for female fighters, it doesn't get any
She's
bigger
number one.
than
Yeah.
Ronda. But as the most dominant women fighter right now out there, Cyborg, in my opinion, is the most dominant women fighter out there. I
Yeah.
think the UFC was they'd be stupid to not try to find some way to bring her in. And of course, they brought her in because she's a huge draw. Out down here, she's huge as can be. And I love the fact that, one, she does all of her obligations. She's like the perfect person for this. She does every media obligation. I've seen her do interview after interview after interview.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and this is all while she's going through a huge weight cut. We've seen guys, girls, everybody, and I can only imagine because, as you can tell, I haven't done a weight cut ever. And, I'm not the most personal person, but to see somebody that's going through a huge weight cut that we've seen the Downs still be such a personable person about it,
Smiling.
I have the
Yeah.
most respect for her.
Yeah.
And so, when you see all this hate and all this other stuff, it's like, you guys are just hating them. They're finding stupid reasons, but if they go back at some point they're going to go back and they're going to look at the body of work that Chris Cyborg has done, and it is so impressive that eventually I would hope that these people would feel like shit for saying, for going back and just literally finding something cosmetic or whatever to say something about somebody
it's been
so domestic. I mean, and that's the thing.
But we
I guess I
forget
shouldn't
everyone
discount
else.
that.
Like Royce Gracie cheated. Like let's all face the freaking fact that one of
does
the
everybody
MMA
not
gods.
love Anderson Silva now anymore?
Well,
I mean, what everybody, most people still consider him the greatest, of all time. Do we throw that out the window now?
Well, two other points I want to make. First, in kind of speaking to Cyborg, is that we did hear, kind of off record, the three of us, that once she came in heavy and once she was making the public statements that it was kind of hard for her, that the UFC did kind of talk to her and say, hey, do we need to do something about this? Like, do we need to start? Maybe we can go negotiate with Lena.
And she said it herself.
Cyborg. Maybe we don't do this at 140. Maybe we do it at 143. And she said, no, I signed a contract for 140. I'm gonna make 140. So I do applaud that. Now, there's been a lot of bitching on social media about the fact that she has to make social media, or that she has to make 140.
Don't even know.
Right.
Yeah.
A social media that has her name on it, that she has to make 140, or now, as we know, 141. So I just want to comment on that, her professionalism. The UFC, did come and say, let's talk about this. Do we need to start looking at a catch weight earlier in the week? And she said, hell no, I signed the contract. I'll be there. The other interesting thing, because we're talking about kind of the misinformation and who knew what and why didn't know. This is the first UFC that I can remember in forever, ever, that there's not a matchmaker here.
Yeah.
Neither matchmaker here. I don't know if Ratner's on his way or not. I don't think I've seen him yet. But those are the guys that would normally be handling these type of discussions. It would make sure, like, as soon as they heard, oh, she doesn't know if she can make 140 or 141. Let me pull up the contract. It's right here. She can make 141.
Or pull up the Rolodex. Who can replace?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to find that down here.
I thought, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't. This is not going to be from what I understood. This is not like WME IMG says they don't need to have matchmakers there anymore. It was just a situation where there's so many events coming up. There's a lot. Truth be told, neither one of those guys really likes coming down here to Brazil to begin with, and this is not the place where there's the beach to go hang out at. It's Brasilia.
Yeah. But Fernanda is here.
Right.
Well, Rio. I'm.
So I
don't like her reaction, guys.
I just thought it was funny that this is the event that happens, and then there's this misinformation that's not getting out. So interesting point. Okay. Last thing. At the end of the day, are we all picking Cyborg, even though we love Lena and we think she's fantastic?
Yeah, I mean, you have to go with logic, just because how much do we know about Lena?
Right.
And have we seen her against
I've seen some of her MMA, but I haven't seen, like, I'm not going to lie, I haven't seen her Muay Thai fight, so I don't know how good.
Exactly.
I've seen how it translates to MMA, but it's just it's a small sample, and it's not. The thing is, you can watch a fight and you can be like, she fucked that chick up. That chick ain't Cyborg. So it's kind of hard to
exactly. We don't have anything to go by. That's and we've talked about this too. When we make picks, we need to find some form of logic behind it. Some people don't. They like to pick the dogs. They go with emotion. There are many factors that go into it, but usually the idea is that we find some form of logic, and I find no way of logically backing up my pick on Lena. And I even said on my pick that I think we all kind of wanted to give her a chance just because it's so interesting, and we all know that it's gonna be bizarre if she wins.
Internet will blow up, dude.
Maybe one of those elbows will catch something.
I almost don't want her to. I don't want her to. Okay, I almost don't want her to win, because it's very rare that I don't want a person to win ever. But when I say that I almost don't want her to win, what I mean is that the Cyborg haters are gonna come in so freaking strong if that happens, or just kind of like she had never faced top. The how quickly people can dismiss entire legacies over a loss is something that just drives me bananas. Like, what happened with Aldo? The guy built
sucks.
We always knew that he said that. That's like the
terrible.
worst freaking speech. I always said this guy sucked.
As he was beating everyone for a decade.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's like my main thing here. I think that Cyborg needs to win again and do it decisively if we want her to be in the UFC and we want her to have her needs met. And I think that after this one, I hope, because we saw her bulging. before she was very adamant, like, I'm not making this cut again. But now we're getting, maybe I'll do this cut again. I kind of want her to see her win very decisively and go like, nope, not doing 140 again. She's already said that she doesn't need her own division, that
Right.
she'll just do 145. So I kind of just want to see her win this one. Lena can go into bantamweight, have a great career. We'll all be happy. But I want her to win this one and have that pull where she can go and say like, okay, I'm a draw. I bring people in. I draw the clicks, and we know she brings in the
Yes, she
clicks.
does.
But I want my fight at 140. It's 5 freaking pounds. It's ridiculous that we're having this conversation. And she already struggles to make 145.
Right.
So think of how much time we lost. Today, the podcast, the news, everything has revolved around
weight.
5 freaking pounds.
It's true.
It could have been avoided.
I saw a picture today that somebody tweeted out of her and Dominic Cruz standing together.
Oh, God.
Theoretically, a 135-pound champion and somebody that people want to be a 135-pound champion. Holy shit.
She was wearing heels, though.
She was wearing heels.
But,
You're
yeah.
But
right.
still, she could
But
she could be
still.
barefoot and she would still dwarf.
Guys, and then
Dumb.
she keeps bringing that up, and I feel like I have a saying in this, because she was saying about hormones.
Mhm.
And the whole thing with birth control.
Boy, this birth control thing, I don't get it.
We
Respect Lockhart, man. He's had some success, but Jesus Christ,
it
that
seems
seems
like a
risky.
freaking gamble.
Oh.
That's the thing, because whenever, and this I speak as a woman, again, I'm not, Lockhart has put years of study
Right.
into this, and I haven't, so I don't want to come in and say, oh, he's a dumbass. He's clearly not. He's really good at what he does, so he has a reason to do it. But what we get as women when we show up at the gynecologist and ask for birth control is all these things can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's and with different types of pill, like this might and some of them, and we have this by existing as women in the world. You have one girl who'll say, I gain weight with birth control, and you have other ones who'll say, oh, it's been great, my
lost
weight
weight.
is great, I lost
Yeah.
weight, it's been awesome, I have mood swings, I do not, so it's such a gamble whenever you're dealing with hormones, that I feel like it was a very risky move
I
that
think
you're
it's
gonna
very risky.
calculate that she's gonna come in and then she's gonna, and he said it himself in the video. He said the only thing we know for sure about weight cutting is that weight cutting is, there's nothing to know for sure, or something like that. He said something in the lines of, it's pretty unpredictable. So when you're bringing in hormones, you're messing with something that it's just highly unpredictable. And Cyborg herself, she's been saying all week that she's been cranky, emotional, and she says it's her hormones. She says it's her period. She says it's the birth control. So to me, as a woman, it looks weird.
Yeah.
It looks very risky. But
We're going to
again,
see. I can't wait for the weigh-ins tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
The one thing about those official weigh-ins that's great now, they're kind of weird, but the cool thing is, like, they're in and this will be the, well, you got to do something. We're in oh, no, that was before we could cover
yeah, we
them.
couldn't. Yeah, we just went there, but we couldn't.
So
do it.
you're in this small room, and there's like 10 people in there, and you're like up close to the scale. I mean, you can see, you can hear people talk, and you can see exactly how they look. Whereas before, we're in the arena, and we're kind of in a bowl, and we're 100 feet away. We're shooting like,
There's like distractions.
yeah,
everywhere.
here it's like, dude, you're right on top of it. So, all right, well, listen, we got to refill these frosty beverages real quick. So in order to do that, I wanted to play the interview that Fernanda, you did with Cyborg. I thought it was awesome because the UFC was very cool in giving us some time with both headliners.
Yep.
And it was the first time that you got to sit down and be part of the beautiful two-camera shoots that our man Cole Coffee puts together.
It was scary. It was. I was very nervous, but I was really happy that I got a chance to count on Kenny's genius. And we're making
I'm
really
bowing to
dramatic
that.
head
Dramatic
gestures
gestures,
right now,
take a
guys.
bow,
You
sir.
can't see it, but it's really great. And to get a chance to talk to these ladies that I got, I was fortunate enough to get to know a little bit better over the past month, and they're both really cool, really interesting girls. So.
Awesome. All right, we're going to re-up, and while we do that, you listen to Cyborg and Fernanda Prates as she talks about a variety of issues with the UFC Fight Night 95 headliner.
Chris, the inevitable question that everybody's asking you, the weight. How is it? How are you now at this point where it's Wednesday, so how's it going?
It's always hard to make 140, but last interviews, we cannot eat, you freaking stress, and it takes so much. And then I show the stress, I am stressed, and then, but now everything in control, in my team, and I think it'll be everything right Friday. And it'll be tough, it'll be easy, today I did amazing training with my coach, I did like pads and then run. And I think it'll be everything okay.
You still have a lot to lose?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, yeah.
But because I think the main thing is that you came in heavier than people, because there's this new, not rule, but the UFC has been trying to control that weight coming in, and you were above that. Was that something, how did the UFC handle that? Did they offer you anything? How was that conducted when they noticed how heavy you were coming in?
Then when they know I'm heavier, and then start call me and they check the weight all the time, then care about my health, they don't really want the fight to happen, have nothing bad with me. It's important to make the fight happen and be okay. And then all the time, then call me, check my weight, see everything right, and they decide the weight for be everything okay.
At any point did they say, let's do this at a different weight, or maybe maybe postpone the fight? Was that ever a conversation?
No, they then check now everything, and if I think it's something happened, of course, then care more about my health than just the fight, just the weight. I think the show it's the fight, and I think of course if something happened, then it's a bit possible.
But as you were just, it was kind of in the realm of possibility, but you never really.
No, then because then follow me now all the time, and if you then see it'll be no good for me, then you for sure they'll make something special.
Okay, got it. And as far as the one big part of the whole weight controversy were the birth control pills, because we saw that on the video, and it seemed like you were having an argument with your nutritionist about that. How did the birth control pills come into play? Was it a suggestion by him, and did you get them prescribed by your doctor? How was that whole birth control situation?
The 2 days ago I was really pissed off because of everything, and then this is new for me about this birth control. And then, I believe in George Lockhart. We work almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And then, but sometimes when you check your weight, you see really different. And I was stressed, and I tell him, but birth control hold a little bit of water.
Yeah.
And it's really hard when you train, and you check your weight to see don't change a little bit.
Yeah.
And not the same before, I was never used this. But I trust him, and this day I was really pissed off and stressed. Because it's the day, the fight, day we lose weight, we lose a little bit, and everybody say, this week we don't get it serious, anything you do. And I believe in him. We're 3 years together, and I hope he's doing all right, and do amazing fight Saturday.
Yeah, because that was actually what I was going to ask you, because it was public that you guys were just not seeing eye to eye, and I'm sure you had to answer a bunch of questions about that, and so did he. But the video, it was something that your team put out. Do you have control over it? Did at any point you were kind of like, maybe we shouldn't? Because
the 2 days I didn't do the interview, and I was speak everything on speak because it was a really bad day. And then to give you opportunity for George to say why he did this, about this. And because we family, his part family, he's not against me. And then, but the day I was really pissed off, and then we give opportunity for him to explain why this has happened, and it just happened, the best family ever together happened, everybody do this.
And now
everybody knew everybody say, okay, everybody fighting, it's normal, family, but we cool now, we training together, and today just running for me, he's giving mails before I came, for be okay.
And I just saw on your Twitter, you mentioned that you RT'd someone and said it was your last. That was it, my last, about the weight cut. Does that mean you're not going to do 140 anymore?
My last fight, I did my last.
Okay.
All my camp last fight, I say, man, this is my last time 140 because it's hard, but everybody say, okay, after fight, I look at my box coach, Jace, I say, I want to fight again, and he says, crazy, it's 1 week before the fight, you say, I don't want to fight this weight anymore. And then, it's really hard, maybe 140, but I don't know what I do after. You know, I leave in hands of UFC, and I want to say thank you, Dana White, for the opportunity to main event. But I leave in his hands, you know, and what he put, I will do, and I just have to train and be ready.
So it was your last? No, it's not your last. We don't know.
You know, I'm a world champion, 145 pounder, and then when I fight, when I fight, I'm still the champion. You know, this is for me, it's very responsible. If I fight 140 or 45, doesn't matter for me. And I was thinking, I go there to defend my belt, you know, and then, you know, I leave in his hand. You know, if I have opportunity to fight 140, you know, same last time I say I don't want to fight 140, but if it happens, it's really hard. You know, this is time I just have to struggle because of the birth control, but this never happen again because I'm not using it again, and then it'll be okay in the last fight.
Oh, so you're not using it again? You think that
I
was
will
maybe
not.
part of the problem?
No, I will stop. No, I still, because I will stop after this, you know, and make sure if this is fault or not, you know.
Okay, but it was kind of like as it stands an experiment that for you. That
Yeah,
you
but
recap. With hormones, I guess it's unpredictable.
Yes,
one could
it's
say.
gross. Now I know what's gross feel the hold water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. So for a woman, it's much harder to cut the weight, and you cut a lot, right? So that was maybe.
Yeah, for my division too. You know, I'm a big girl. I have big muscle, and for my division, I already cut a lot. Yeah, but you know, I think when you cut weight, you train more. You know, if you Sunday in the house, at nighttime, you watch TV, somebody asks you, let's go run. If you don't need to cut weight, I'm not going to run. Now, if you want to run, you will go on run. And then, you know, sometimes I like because I train more and will be more in shape in the fight. And yeah, will be heavyweight. If you ask me, are you going to run Sunday night? No, do this, you know.
Because you said, so I'm leaving in Dana's hand, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like you're happy with the way that the UFC has been sort of treating your weight situation. I'm not giving you the 145-pound fight.
You know, something I was thinking, you know, you don't have to do my division. You know, I already were champion 145. If you make it like the fight to just agree, girls fight me, we can make one way to be good for everyone, you know. And I'm happy because I just have the opportunity, then give it the opportunity for me, fight 140, my last fight, and I'm really happy because this is the biggest fight UFC in Brazil, and I'm really blessed for be there, and they make this opportunity, and then open this opportunity for me because don't have my division, they make something 140 for me, and I feel blessed about this, you know, and then after this fight, see everybody really like my fight, and then give them the opportunity to be main event again in Brazil. Yeah. I'm happy about this. I don't tell you I'm happy now because I'm cut weight, you know, it's hard. But I'm really happy for the opportunity, and I'm very excited for this fight. You know, Lina, she's a good opponent. She has 60, 70 fights Muay Thai, kickbox together. And I think great opportunity for me because I'm a striker. I like strike and stand up. And she liked you. And I think I would be excited for all people to watch, you know. For sure, BKO, something like this, you know. And for sure, I will do my best over there and bring a victory for Brazil.
She did say she was looking to fight 5 rounds.
No, I'm ready for 5 rounds. Since she's hoping I'm gonna be tired, man, I've run so much for this camp, and let's do this. You know, I trained for 6 rounds.
So you were talking about 145 at your division at Invicta, and you have been talking about your desire to go back to Invicta to defend that belt. Do you have anything already in mind for that? Do you have any opponents in mind at Invicta? Is that something that you're looking to do after you're done with this fight?
You know, Shanna, she's asking for time for to develop next contender for the belt, and then we give the time, and I have the opportunity to fight again, you know, in the UFC. And let's see, you know, I've never chosen my opponent, and, you know, I see if my manager, of course I want to defend my belt. If somebody else want to fight, I think it's the right way. If you hold your belt, you know, if you don't want to hold anymore, you let it go, you know, give opportunities for other girls.
But then if you let it go, what would you do? Would you go straight, just be a full-time UFC fighter?
I don't know.
You still don't know what's
I don't know. I have to see after this fight. You know, I don't like make plan. You know, I like just do what I'm doing now. And same the last fight. I was thinking maybe my last fight. You know, I don't know, the first opportunity for me. And now I'm again here in my event. So better just don't make plans. Just, you know, wait.
Okay, because I think the sentiment generally that we've been getting a lot is just this. So she's going through all this sacrifice to make 140, but at the end of the day, you're fighting a newcomer that I've read the word meaningless in the sense that this fight doesn't really do much for your career. But it's a headliner in Brazil. So for you, what does it mean, and why did you think, okay, that's worth making 140 for this particular fight?
I think all the fights I'm doing, it's important for my career. I think I train so much, and then for me, be here in the main event in Brazil and the UFC, I think it's an honor. I think it's really important for my career because there's a lot of fighters want to be main event, and then I have this opportunity. And Lina is a great opponent, but everybody don't know too much her, maybe because she's coming from Muay Thai and the kickboxing. But I think it'll be an amazing fight.
You were talking about the matchup and the fact that she's a striker and that you think it's going to be an exciting...
I think so. I think because this then match this fight because she's a striker, I'm a striker, and I think people will be looking for this big KO. I think it'll be a great fight.
So during the fight week, you've been getting probably the same questions over and over. The weight. Is it something that bothers you that you keep getting asked every 5 minutes about your weight? Does it annoy you at any level? Or?
It's not just an interview all the time. When in the morning, George texts me, what is the weight? In the night, what is the weight? After training, what is the weight? I have my scale in my backpack all the time. And then it's normal, I think it's something, it's annoying, but girls don't like scale, But I now with friends, I see her all the time, and then it's my job, It's something I cannot hate the scale. I have to do this, and it's my opportunity for me to fight.
And on the other hand, the reaction to all of this, you've been getting a lot of sympathy from fans and people who are worried about you and worried about your health and worried about your cut. Do you appreciate that other side of just having people come up to you and be like, be safe, Chris, don't.
Yeah, I have a lot of messages. It's something nice because people understand why the process we pass, all the fighters. Not just me, okay? People see me, but all the fighters cut the weight and the training. And there's some fans just watch you inside the octagon, don't know what's happened. I think when the fans look at everything we pass, man, then be more fan. Because you see a lot of things we do for being inside cage. When you go inside the cage, you're already champion. Because it's really hard to step inside cage. And then when they can see the backstage, to be a fighter, lose weight, training every day, and eat less, and then it's very have to have discipline, everything. I think that getting more fans and more interesting. Yeah.
Is that what's behind your approach to just showing videos of being active on social media? Is that something that you actually want to show, just the actual life of a fighter?
Before I really don't like. I don't like to show anything, but I think this is help, for helping all my fans, see and follow me. Because before I was fighting, I were champion in Strike Force, I fight in Elite XC, and the people just know me inside cage. And everybody think I'm a mean person. Everybody asking me, she's really bad. Oh, really? She say hi for you, she take picture of you. I say, man, I'm really bad inside the octagon. I'm not bad outside. And I think this is cool because people can meet me and they know about my life. I have a normal life, I'm a normal girl, I have family, and then I think people can appreciate more, not just know me inside cage. Because in cage, you cannot see me inside cage and say, she's really nice. And then I think cool when people see outside cage.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Fernanda Prates and Cyborg Justino. It's still weird sometimes. I say Santos every now and then. I feel bad. It's just ingrained in my head. All right, let's talk about the co-main event briefly. First of all, just Renan Barão. He's a monster. No,
Renan Barão's a monster.
Cole Coffey, you and I think both have the same relationship with Renan, which is I think we both love the guy. I love the guy because, first of all, he's got that big, goofy smile, which is awesome. The other thing I love is not so much. I mean, his fighting, yes. I mean, obviously I got to see him in the WC and then the UFC, but I love the fact that when he was a guest fighter at shows and stuff, he shows up for the first fight. He's a fight fan. He's some guy. Guest fighters roll in halfway through the main card or whatever. He's a fight fan. He supports his team. Just seems like an overall good dude.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. We can't speak a damn word to him. It's always just like
it sucks.
Hey!
It sucks.
Hey! And Renan's always super nice. He's like,
I think we both did like the little handshake and the little thing today. I was like, oh man, I just want to be like, what's up, dude? But you're right. He was like the nicest dude. And I know I get criticized a lot of time because everybody's like, man, he can't be impartial because everybody thinks I love everybody.
Right.
But he is one of the fighters that I do. I'm
You're
just
so
like
delicate.
Yeah, you're
I'm
very
like
delicate.
I'm like a
We've
flower.
established
I've
that.
just recently started taking the pill. I'm sorry. But no, like, he's always been so super nice. And you're right. Even like he come in the first fight, I think he's a guy that recognizes the fact of, he came. I don't know his full background, but I'm sure it wasn't the best upbringing. I mean, of poorest things. I
It
mean,
wasn't bad. I mean, he was raised by his grandma, and it was a very loving home. He just didn't have much.
Much,
growing
right?
up.
And I think
love. That was about
yeah.
it.
Well, but
But love is like pretty great, so there's that.
I'm on the pill. I'm gonna start fucking crying now. Like, stop this, people. But yeah, I think that's what he respects and he understands. Like when things are being given and people are given whatever, he's gonna be there front and center to because that's respect given. I think he understands that and he's been respectful, and for doing that, and he's always been just smiling, nice. Yeah. He shows up and stuff, and it's like. So whenever I see somebody go out of their way and he's so easy to work with, he's like, I'm inclined. I want to be like, dude, you're fucking cool. Thank you for doing whatever.
Makes our job
but
easy.
to not have the vocabulary to say it is so frustrating. It's so funny. We do the same dance every
if only
single
you guys had a
time.
Portuguese speaker near you.
If we only knew something that could translate,
wow.
you know.
And I have helped you with that, John
Yeah,
Morgan.
we've gotten some good stories with
Yeah.
well, I guess what I wanted to say, since you do have the insight, I know you just spoke to him briefly. We didn't really focus on him as a big part of our interviews this week. But second fight at featherweight, I was there for the first one as well in Vegas. Jeremy Stevens, the guy looks like. He used to look. I mean, we all know that weight cutting is bad, and we've just finished spending a bunch of time.
That's why we don't do it,
Cyborg.
folks.
Yeah, that's why we don't weight cut.
Let's
I'm trying to
put
be
a
safe.
disclaimer. We're trying to be
healthy.
safe and healthy here.
I am trying to be healthy with my lifestyle. Yeah, literally there were times at 135 where, pretty sure he shaved his head a couple times just to get those last few ounces off, not because he thought it was a fashion statement, and basically just looked awful.
Sunken, hollow
He
eyes.
hated it, guys. He was a different person. You would talk to him, he looked glassy-eyed.
Yeah.
He was just not. He'll say it, but we knew it. Barão was one of the guys that when you walked in a weigh-in scenario, you would never talk to him because he was miserable, But there's more to it than that, because I just remember from the very first interviews that we did that I actually had to translate for him a lot. And I just remember getting from him the same line. The weight cut is the worst part for me. And people say, oh, you're fighting what? There's the face punching inside a cage thing, but that's like a minor. The one thing that he has always pointed out was, to me, after I make weight, the worst is over.
It's funny because I had heard back in the day when kind of him and Aldo were both in their prime and both champions that Hennen actually walked around heavier than Aldo did.
He did, and they're the same size basically. Aldo is a little bit taller maybe, but Aldo is leaner.
Right, and so
Barão's
Barão had
a
to cut
bigger
down
guy.
those 10 pounds, which is crazy.
I
So
love how you say his name. I
Barão.
feel like we're being official. Like we are an official podcast because we have names really pronounced.
Barão
Like,
is not even his
say it again?
name. It became
Pagado,
his name.
Nacimiento de Pagado.
Something like that.
Something.
It's Pegado, yeah. Barão it's his nickname, but became it was because of a soap opera that his grandmother used to watch, and it had the Baron. Barão is the Baron, and she called him as a kid Barão the Baron, and that stuck.
It is funny how many. It is funny how many.
I love how
fighters
you
have.
pronounce as opposed we just
Barão.
Barão.
It is funny
Barão.
how many fighters we have because you have Godofredo Pepe,
Yeah,
Hody
Pepe
Jason,
a nickname. Jason obviously a nickname.
But it's funny because it sucks because what happens is they get introduced to us one way, and we
Yeah.
load them all into the system. We've got all of our links
well,
set up.
actually-
Actually, we're gonna go with the nickname. But I think it's kind of cool that the UFC. I know that happens a lot in Brazil where people are basically just a name. I think it's kind of cool that the UFC lets them use their nickname.
Well, I mean, they're so adamant about it. Like the Brazil people love their nicknames. I mean,
they
they
just
love it.
incorporate it.
Like if I want you to call me Tree Trunk or alligator or whatever. It's like, that's
Yeah.
it. That's my nickname. That's my name.
Like,
I'll
dude, if
sign
you
it.
say-
I'll sign it on a piece of paper.
It's some of them are crazy because like if I wrote a story that was like, guess who Ronaldo Souza's facing this week, it'd be like, who?
Who?
fuck
Yeah,
are you
exactly.
talking about?
Jacare.
Jacare. You know what I mean? It's like
I
totally.
still struggle with it. Like, I
Yeah.
have to ask you, like, how is this person loaded into the system? Because
Yeah.
I'm just so used to the nicknames. Jacare is one of them, and Souza, and we have like insanely common last names.
Yeah.
Souza is Silva, Souza. We have so many of them.
Pezal, everybody calls Cigano. Nobody calls him JDS or Junior Dos Santos.
Yeah,
it's
because Dos
Cigano.
Santos is another very common nickname. So it just kind of like, and we have a bunch of Silvas just.
There's
in the
literally
same-
only 4 last names in all of Brazil. Yo.
Yeah.
It's just
That's why I like my Prates, because actually my last name is Ferreira, and Ferreira is also insanely
Is a very-
common.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I don't use it.
all right, big fight I think for Renan Barão because okay, Felipe Nover said to us this week, he's like, look, I don't think he's a legit featherweight. I think he's a bantamweight that just doesn't want to cut anymore. And I will say this.
He's
When-
allowed to not want to cut anymore.
Well, I know, but I will say this. When he was in there against Jeremy Stevens, like, I thought he fought a good fight. I thought he actually won the Jeremy Stevens
Yeah.
fight, but it was so close that
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
could go either
I'll
way.
go either
Same
way.
thing with me.
But
yeah.
I will say this. The whole time in that fight, I was like, oh, shit, if Jeremy lands, this is going to be bad. You know what I mean? Because, like, Jeremy looked so much bigger than
Yeah.
he is. Now, today when they were doing the stare downs, it didn't, to be honest, I was more thinking about Cyborg. And so it didn't stick out in my head that Felipe
You
was, like,
always
so
think
much
about
bigger.
He was
Cyborg.
just shorter.
Doug,
Yeah.
I see
He
you.
was just shorter. That's it. And then you see Lineker being shorter than everyone else and still
Yeah.
destroying them. So it's kind of like, and that's the thing though. Being comfortable is part of being at your best.
It's true.
And I just think, and I always talk about this. We always have this conversation that fighters are people, and what works for one of them doesn't work for the other. So sometimes the small advantage that you're gonna get by destroying yourself to make weight, it's not worth being miserable all the time. And some other fighters have an easier time, and that's like the same with us. Some people diet. I've been dieting forever. I always do that.
Right.
Some people I know can't do it. They hate it. They don't want to give up their nice, delicious
I'm
foods.
like the two dudes in front of you.
I wasn't gonna name names. It's just, some people are more comfortable with certain sacrifices, and you don't have to be a robot to be an
I'm
athlete.
comfortable with no sacrifices.
Well, and you gotta be comfortable. That's why I always do this podcast in my underwear, because you gotta be comfortable.
Because
so
it's
I
very
apologize.
sexy too. It's very sexy. I'm really appreciative of this choice.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so what do you guys think? Felipe Nover, I was kind of surprised this match. Felipe Nover seems like kind of a weird, he's coming off a loss.
I didn't even know who he was, basically.
And that's my thing, and that's my own ignorance, because like even with Lena came out of the woodworks for me. Philip was another one that came out of the woodworks for me.
Right.
Even if I probably watched the fight
So
that
yeah,
his
exactly.
last fight.
It didn't
Philip.
stick out to me. Yeah.
Philip, whatever. Dog, actually, when I first did one of his first lower thirds for one of the videos, I was like, Philip, and I went back, oh, all right, it's one of those fancy names with the extra E on the end. He
Philippe
probably
is
wants
also
to be
very
called
common in
Philippe.
Brazil, incidentally.
It's
a-
Felipe in some countries. But no, I have no frame of reference to expect. So I have to go back on my go-to, and I'll lean towards Barão. But,
I think
I don't
Barão
know.
wins this fight, but I'm interested. I think this is a big fight for him because if for some
kinda
reason
needs to
if
win,
he just
though.
if he,
He
lay,
does
if he
need to
lays
win.
if he lays an egg and goes in there and has a bad performance,
that's not going to be good
He
for him.
knows that. He knows that, and he wouldn't say it in so many words to us because Barão, as much as we all established that we adore him, and I do, and Kenny
he
was
like,
there when
Hola,
we-
Fernanda. Hey,
I know, he was like, oh, he
No,
lit up and
I was
stuff.
actually
and then he was-
teasing him because during the media day I took a picture of him and I posted it on Instagram, and he used it and didn't credit me, which is fine, but it's just kind of
Stole your picture.
he stole my picture, and he didn't even, he could have asked, and I
Right.
would have sent the picture full quality. He
Yeah.
just screen grabbed Instagram. So
It's got your name up in the top corner.
and he left a comment that it was like, "Ooh, who's this good-looking fella?" I love Hina, but he just doesn't give the greatest interviews. He gives the worst interviews. He sucks in Portuguese.
Well, I was going to say, most of the time we used to do interviews with him, he's always been struggling with his weight, so, nobody gives a good interview like
no,
that.
he's
And then
better now. At
you know.
least he's he'll give answers, full sentences, but still, we get pretty much the same sentences over and over.
Yeah.
If you have a mouth, you can
It's
say whatever you
normal.
want, stuff like that. It's his
Hey,
equivalent.
normal.
Yeah, it's his version of it's normal.
There was one
I'm
today.
back.
Christian had spoken with Godofrede Pepe.
Yeah.
And I was actually writing the story up, and there was a phrase that I've heard him use like multiple times, like "I'll dance to whatever music's played."
Yeah.
Like, not that one again.
Yeah.
Damn it.
But
Pepe
Pepe is actually a good interview.
Oh, he's a great fighter, dude. That guy when he's on,
He's
is
on. Yeah.
man.
I had him for I thought he was gonna win the last one, and
I did
he
too.
could have.
He could've.
He dropped the strategy, and that's the thing. You could hear Dita go freaking crazy in his corner. Don't stop doing it. Stop laying down and pulling him into your guard. And then he proceeds to.
Yeah, he gives up He gives up rounds on his back. He's so dangerous from his back that he's so willing to be there. But dude,
you just give it up the round.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk quickly about the heavyweight fight. Roy Nelson and Bigfoot.
Wait, are they fighting on this card?
Crazy, huh? But it's funny because I know you kind of, and obviously we trust your judgment when it comes to gauging the temperature of Brazil, so to speak, or whatever. But you know,
I am the voice of Brazil.
I mean, you speak for everyone.
I do.
In the entire nation.
Yes, I have the keys to the country.
100%. We're like, you speak for them. But you kind of gone out of your way and said that, you know, like people are pretty pumped up about this fight, and that they're both like ultra popular people down here.
They
which, of course, Bigfoot's from here. That didn't work out for him so well against Andre Arlovski the last time he fought here, but he is from here. But you kind of said that they're both actually big stars there, and Roy, we were talking to him for a little while off record or whatever, and he said that he's actually been greeted a lot warmer. Yeah. So, I mean, this is actually kind of a fun fight for Brazil.
It's a great fight for Brazil. So, Bigfoot, one good way of telling how popular a fighter is, you had Globo doing interviews next to us yesterday.
Right.
Who did they interview? They didn't even interview Lena.
That's right. They didn't even talk to her at all.
It's
a great point.
Right. I didn't even think about it. Did they even?
We were the only
did they
ones
do
that talked to
Cyborg?
Lena yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, of course they talked to Cyborg.
They did Cyborg.
They did Cyborg.
So they did Cyborg, Roy,
Bigfoot.
and Bigfoot.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that's a great thermometer. I don't know if they did Roy.
They
Oh,
dropped
they did.
the
That's
ball
why he
on
was
that.
downstairs. Yeah.
Globo.
So that's a great way of telling. When I used to
What
do.
do they know about TV?
What do they know about stuff with their
When I
millions and
did-
millions of viewers?
What do they know about anything? They know about giving the audience what they want.
Right.
And that's like Bigfoot is such a big name here because of the novelty.
Right.
Because he stands out.
Yeah.
So it's digestible. You know, you can appreciate a person with obvious appeal, and that's Bigfoot. And then Roy, the same thing. For different reasons. He's also a very easy to relate to fighter. You go into
He's a
relate to him.
character.
you go into
He's
Barbie.
such a character. I can only imagine
Yeah,
what
well,
Brazilians think when they see this big, bearded, jolly dude, especially when he gets his
That rubs his
wins and he
belly.
rubs his belly. They gotta just love. I mean, I love it. I know Americans love it. I mean, they
but
gotta
that's
love
the
it.
Bearded
thing.
jolly dude. What do they?
They're like
what do they
Santa
think?
Claus.
Santa Claus.
Cold
They
coffee.
think happiness
How do you say
is
Santa Claus in
gifts.
Portuguese?
What? Santa Claus?
yeah.
Papai Noel.
Papa Noel.
Papai Noel.
Ah, that just sounds good. Ah, Papa Noel. Next time I see him, I'm like,
That's amazing. No, it's funny because you go I'll go into like family gatherings or whatever, and it will come up that my occupation involves semi-naked people fighting each other in cages, and they go, there's also that guy that rubs his. It's seriously,
Really?
he's such a huge topic of conversation.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And when I used to do PR, and Kawan, who used to do it with me, Kawan
Sure.
was obsessed with Roy Nelson, by the way.
That's
He's
funny.
probably like super upset that he's not here right now. And we would always put in a request for Roy as a guest fighter because we knew that everybody was going to want to talk to him. They love him here.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
No.
I asked, and you were there, I asked him, like, Roy, did you know that you were a thing in Brazil? Like, can you use
Right.
that shirt now?
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
think-
big, I'm a big deal. I'm big in
T-shirt
Brazil.
makers, if you have a T-shirt company,
Yeah.
contact Roy Nelson.
But so he's a big draw, and then Bigfoot. So and again, heavyweights. I'm very clear about how I feel when it comes to UFC heavyweights. They suck, but not Roy Nelson, Bigfoot specifically. But I don't like the division. I think it's very thin.
Or a fan of the show, Derek Lewis. You're pretty cool
Derek
too.
Lewis, except for the
No
Beast.
plugs. I'm not plugging anything. I'm just, I'm
No,
just
I
saying.
love Redo.
I'm just saying
the
we love the
Beast,
Black Beast.
obviously, who sponsors this show apparently. But the
Beast
heavyweights have
Enterprises.
very
Yeah.
clear, also digestible appeal to major audiences. And in Brasilia specifically, what we get is a very unique situation in which you have this money going around. You have people who want to spend money on entertainment, but they're not avid fans, but they'll go.
Right.
So I do think that there are going to be a lot of people there.
Right.
There is a certain amount of buzz, but at the same time, people don't know what's going on. But then you go and say, are there fights going on? Yeah. Oh, I'll go. They don't even know. They just want to go because it's a thing. The city needs entertainment. They have money. And I use my dad as a thermometer for everything. I'm from here, as you guys know, and my dad lives here, and he's got his friends here, and they're all like rich, middle-aged white men. And
So you usually hang out with them.
they're really my crowd. Really. I love it. They all have shared the same thing. Like, they would go. They're probably going just because it's something to do. So you get heavyweights, Roy Nelson, Bigfoot. It just makes perfect sense for the city we're at right now.
Big fight for both those guys. I mean, I think both of them could really use a win. Antonio Silva especially. I think a lot of people are fairly concerned about his future and how much longer he can keep fighting if he takes tough losses. A fight that I'm really looking forward to. I don't know if most people are, but I am. Paul Felder, Francisco Trinaldo. Yeah. I love this fight. Felder is so fun to watch. Masaranduba, I love watching him fight. I don't know about the whole sparring blindfolded thing that he did building up to this thing, but I love watching the guy fight. Cool story. He's obviously a huge kind of cult hero down here, man. He always gets such a good welcome, but I think that's a big fight. And one that I'm sure Fernanda is looking forward to, Thiago Marreta Santos against
boy.
Eric Spice. I know Marreta's your boy. You've written extensively on him and supporting him, but he is getting a lot of love down here. I feel like, the UFC Brazilian office, which just like every regional office does, they kind of try to identify who's our guys, who are the ones coming up that we need to maybe put a little push behind. Yeah. I feel like they think Marreta has got something.
That's the thing. He's got a cool life story. He's from Cidade de Deus, the same place that Rafaela Silva came from, the judo who just won judo gold, who won gold at the Olympics with judo. I don't know if that sentence made any freaking sense. But
most of the sentences we all say on this podcast don't anyway, so it's cool.
True.
So he comes from the same place. He has this really cool story of just coming from nothing really. He built this great life for himself. He was in the military for years. He's just and his style of fighting is also very interesting. Mm-hmm. So you have a very cool combination of factors that I think make for a star. The one thing with Santos is he's very shy.
Yeah.
So he doesn't he started like calling out people and stuff, but he doesn't have that type of charisma that just shines through. I think he's a great guy, and I've had the opportunity to have long sit-down interviews in which I could really pull things from him. But if you don't have that opportunity...
Right, you're not going to get a 2-minute soundbite from him.
Exactly. You actually, last week we had the media day, and the most interesting thing we had, and it was like pretty much the main topic of conversation, was how pissed he was that he lost to Mousasi. And it's funny because he walked in last minute against... It's not just someone. No. It's Mousasi, and a very hungry Mousasi at that. So he
didn't get to eat his spaghetti. He was very hungry.
He was very hungry. He really wanted spaghetti and Cormier.
That's right.
And he was hungry for spaghetti and Cormier. So he walked in, and it's the type of fight that you go in with nothing to lose, right? And that you kind of like give yourself
free pass, right?
Free
like,
pass.
Shit, I stepped up. I did what I could do.
He's pissed. He was devastated. Like, you can see it in his eyes. Like, he couldn't get over it. He said he changed people in his team because he felt like they didn't give him the right strategy. He felt he held back too much because he wanted to like throw down, and he feels like that would have been the way for him to win.
They wanted to play a little more.
And they wanted him to play a little more safe.
Saucy's a pretty good counterpuncher.
I honestly, it seemed a little bit delusional.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah, I like it.
It's interesting. It gives some flavor. But in any case, that's why I think that he's got the potential to be a Brazilian name. I just feel like he needs to let his personality shine through a little bit more.
Gilbert Burns is closing out the preliminary card.
That's a good one.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time. Gilbert's, he likes to talk.
Oh, he's a talker.
He's a great interview.
He was the longest interview of the other day.
It was.
And he's so cute that he went on Twitter like, I didn't know it was your birthday.
That's funny. Too funny.
So adorable.
I'm actually interesting fight with Michel Pereira because that dude can be incredibly boring.
I love how you didn't even set this one up. Because and Gilbert said it himself. Because I sat down
It's
with him. It's
effective, but it's just boring.
boring as fuck. And then Gilbert said it.
Yeah.
We sat down. So yeah, you were there,
Right.
but you were doing
Yeah,
other
I was
stuff. But when we sat down and he said, because Michel said that his jiu-jitsu, he thought his jiu-jitsu was as good as Gilbert's.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked Gilbert about that because obviously we like stirring shit up.
Of
It's
course.
what we do.
Fuck.
So I
You know
was
what
like,
he said.
I never do that. Never.
and he said, well, he's wrong, and he does boring fights. I don't do boring fights. I have no interest in doing boring fights.
I hate to be rude, but I always say, if you're gonna say something, be willing to say it to the fighter themselves. I would tell him that. Like, listen, man. I mean,
Well, let's give him a call. And that's
just
going to be
kidding.
the special
Just kidding.
segment of today's podcast. Morgan tells Michelle to his
who's
face.
knocking on the door right now? Oh, it's Michelle
Hey.
Prates.
You do that from your room?
Come
You're
here.
boring. Peace. No, I mean, you can't hate a guy for trying to win fights, man. You're trying to put money in the bank and take care of your family and all that. And by all accounts, he seems like a nice guy, but god damn, it's just just
He's a cop.
take down and chill. Yeah, I heard that. Well, see, that's what cops do. Like, they just take you down and they
Paulo
control
Thiago.
you until they can. Well, in the mean streets of
He's a
Brasilia.
Miotic a cop too, though.
Firefighter.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, so we'll just move on so I don't get myself in trouble.
Yeah.
Hani Yaya, I think, were you there when he was begging for the
Honey.
fight?
I was. Sioux Falls.
Yeah, he was begging. I didn't remember if you were back there in the back at the time or whatever.
Oh,
yeah.
I wasn't.
I
told
knew
me
you were in
later,
Sioux
yeah.
Falls, but yeah. He basically begged for a fight. He got it. This fight could be a lot of fun because Yaya is like one of the most interesting fight styles, and he's fighting Michinori Tanaka, who actually has a pretty interesting fight style as well.
Yeah.
I know nobody's talking about this fight. Probably most people don't even know what's happening. But if you're a hardcore fan, I think this one's going to be kind of fun.
Yep.
And the flyweight fight, I really like Juicio Formiga and Dustin
That
Ortiz.
to me is one, two,
Juicy. First of all, we do Juicy. We need you to listen. We've come up with something for you.
I'll tell him. I'll let him know.
Let him know. Cold
my boy,
Coffee has
too.
come up with an entrance song for him.
Yes, it's the original juicy
Which I
fruit.
learned something. I did not know that
That it was
the
sampled
the
Juicy
sampled
Fruit.
for Juicy, which totally makes sense.
Yeah,
why
I forget
that's
the name of the group,
song.
but
And I
Matumbo
felt
or Matumbo
ignorant
or
because I was
something.
like, no, that's the same from the Biggie song. And he goes, no.
Because Biggie knew what was up.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Am I
Just saying.
supposed to call him Biggie? How do we call him like in 2016? I don't even know.
Biggie.
Biggie, is that okay? Okay.
Why not?
Still Biggie.
He's not Smalley. He's Biggie.
No, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I guess he's still Biggie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need you to. So basically, if you could pass that along, since you do speak for all of Brazil,
I do.
let
yes.
them know that we.
I'll
It's
put-
like,
I'll post
it's like
it
they
on our
already heard it
forum.
already.
We who speak as Americans, we actually represent
we-
America.
You guys are
We speak
Americans?
for
I couldn't
America.
even tell.
Yeah, I mean,
You hide it pretty well.
we're pretty much the prototypical Americans. Loud,
No.
drunk,
You no. What?
I know. So we want him to go by Juicy as his nickname and come out to.
Formiga is also a nickname.
That's true. There's another nickname.
It means
He's
ant.
and he's Da Silva.
Yep.
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, because I called some of his fights in Tachi Palace. So, dude, he's gotten so much bigger from back when he was like wiry, like skinny little dude. Now he's actually like put some strength
Yeah,
on.
he's got some little.
If he gets on your back, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Eric Silva on the
That's
prelims.
what she said.
That's a good one.
Second one today.
Eric Silva on the prelims.
Yeah, I talked to him. I was just writing up a piece on him and ran into him in the elevator. He's pretty much on weight. With Eric.
Hair
it's
looks good this
just
week as always.
Hair game on point.
Yep. Yep. Looks sharp.
He seems so happy. And
Yeah.
that's like, he changed things up. He's doing his camp in his hometown, which I would find bizarre because it's just a small town. Not a small town, but you wouldn't associate it with good fighting.
Where is it? What is it?
Vila Velha is in Espírito Santo.
I remember Espírito Santo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he brought his whole structure there. He was supposed to come in and stay for 2 weeks because he was training in the U.S.
Right.
And he came back, and he couldn't come back because of his son.
Interesting.
He didn't. He's like, I can't. I want to stay here. And he decided. He talked to Benkei, and Benkei bought the idea. And they brought such a high-level camp that his training partners don't want to go back. They want to stay there training.
Really?
So I mean, whether it's gonna work out for him or not, Chagas is a very tough guy, and we've seen him.
Ugh.
His
On
debut was
short notice against Serginho.
what, and then
In
he
a
went to the
stadium?
ground with him. Like that's
Yeah.
he's crazy talented.
Yeah.
But Eric is just, and you could tell by talking to him, he seems in such a good place, just like happy that it's just nice to see him that way.
Yeah. I feel bad because he's kind of become the poster boy of like unrealized potential.
Yep.
I think he's that, because he had so much hype coming in and is capable of putting on fantastic performances,
Yep.
but has had some inconsistencies. So this is a tough fight. Nobody really knows who Chagas is. Of course, they probably, the hardcores will have seen the fight against
Yeah.
Serginho, of course, but most people don't know anything about him. But that dude showed me a lot, so I'm excited for this fight too. Fight Pass, Alain Patrick, Stevie Ray. I think that's
Cool
going to be a
one,
fun
too,
fight.
yeah.
That's a good one, man. I'm telling you. I like Patrick, man. I like his style. He's
awesome.
fun to watch fight. Another guy with a great story.
Yep.
And
He used to
gave you an incredible line where, he basically.
women used to hide the purses when he walked by, and now they open it to take cameras for pictures.
I was like, that's
He used to
awesome.
beg in the streets of Brasilia. Like, he had his most violent home. His family was just, his parents were both alcoholics. His mom moved out,
Let's
and
not judge people.
he would live. They were the violent times, John.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
a peaceful drunk. They would stay, and his house was so crowded that he wouldn't want to stay in, so he slept on the streets. And he used to shine shoes,
Which is
and
where
just
the Nugget came from.
the Nugget, the nickname. He used to jump over fences and playgrounds to sleep. It's just he had, and it was here because he lived all over. He's not from here. He's from São Paulo. Lived in Manaus for a really long time, and that's where he met Jack Ray, who was really responsible for bringing Alain Patrick for creating him as a fighter. But then he comes back here. He hasn't fought here, and it's just this whole full circle thing from, he used to beg here, and now he's like
Lowest to lows to come back as one of their
it's
possible champions or whatever. That's a great story.
It's a great fight. I like Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray is stepping outside of Europe. He's had a great run in the UFC so far. I'm a little scared because the last time I thought we were going to have a really beautiful homecoming story, it was Igor Araujo in Brasilia who sold ice cream outside of the stadium.
It had his soul.
Oh.
What was that? You used that term.
Yeah,
What was
his
it?
his soul was taken from him that evening. That was not. It was not good. So I'm hoping for the best for Alain Patrick because that was a scary knockout. Igor Araujo, man, it was actually scary. And to think that he had like friends and family and stuff like that because he was back in a place where he had again come from nothing and come to something like.
Yeah.
Scary. So, all right. Well, listen. It has been fun, but we've got churrascaria to go get.
Churrascaria.
And nothing is going to stop that. So we're going to go do that, and then after we come back with the churrascaria, that's when we'll do some editing and get this stuff all up. So as we head out the door, I did want to play the interview with Dustin Ortiz because I really enjoyed talking to him. A prelim fighter, a flyweight who is really fought the best of the best in the flyweight division. Probably doesn't get a lot of love, but really enjoyed him kind of outlining some of the changes that he made and some of the goals that he made. And since we got to go eat dinner, I figured I'll let you hear a little Dustin Ortiz. And in the meantime, thanks for listening. Dustin, we haven't seen you since I think it's been January since you last fought.
January, yeah.
Give us the update. Was it that long on purpose? You have things to take care of? What's you been up to?
No, actually, it's never on purpose to take off of work. This is my job. I like to work. I like to make money. And so I'm always willing to fight at any point, any time. It's been a good break. I got to say that. It's been nice. I moved back to Nashville. So I've been training there for this fight camp, a little switch up, not a lot of people know about. So that's kind of breaking news as of right now. But no, it's kind of, my first year they threw me in there like 5 fights, my first calendar year. Mm-hmm. And then I went to like 1, maybe 2 the next year. And then, so it's I'm not sure what program they have me on, but I'm just, I'm ready to take a fight at any time.
We'll talk about the training switch. Was there a reason behind it, and who are you with now?
I'm with myself, to be honest. I go to so many gyms right now throughout Middle Tennessee. I'm driving like an hour in each direction just for, one practice. Boxing here, jiu-jitsu here, wrestling here, strength and conditioning over here. So I'm not with one particular gym, just getting the best out of every gym that, opens up the doors to me, which has been tremendous. I've had a lot of support, since I've been back, which has been, absolutely a blessing to me. But I went back to visit after my last fight, just kind of, you know, it didn't go my way. I was kind of stuck in a rut mentally and just needed that, you know, breath of fresh air back in Tennessee. And once I got there, it was just like, man, this is nice, you know, it's nice. And then I got the call, so I was like, well, I'm here, you know, I'm gonna make the most out of it. So
very cool.
Saturday will tell the tale.
Well, you've been down here before. You've made the trip to Brazil. You were successful. It's a hard place for a lot of people to fight, but you did well. What was the key to success? What kind of things did you take out of it for you to be successful here?
It was, my last one was a rough go because it was my first UFC fight. First time out of the United States. When we got, I think it was over Puerto Rico, we had to turn around and come back because the navigation went out in the airplane or something, which I don't know how we turned around if the navigation went out in the first place. But so yeah, we had an extra 8 hours of flying. It just killed my legs. I'm not a huge fan of flying and that whole process. So getting over here this time was a lot smoother. We got over here early. My body's adapting. We're right on schedule. So getting in there and dealing with the fans, it's just like you gotta use that energy and that passion and force it into your you got to make it work for you.
Right.
So that's kind of what I did is like the first 2 rounds was like an out-of-body experience. I was like watching myself from the cage. I could hear my coach, but I just couldn't let loose with anything I was doing. I was just like fighting on, you know, auto zone. And the 3rd round, it just kind of clicked. I was like, man, I got to win. I gotta knock this dude out. I got to do something. So my coach was telling me what combos. I was like, no, I got to take him down. I got to ground and pound. I got to go back to, you know, what works for me. So that's what happened. I took him down, took his back, ground and pound, and got the TKO finish in the 3rd. So just kind of making that snap, that transition in the 3rd round is what won it for me.
Nice. This time you're facing Formiga, a guy that you're certainly familiar with. You guys kind of cross paths out in California. But
yeah.
What do you think about him? I mean, he's so great at what he does. I mean, the back control, it's insane. But, I mean, do you look at him as kind of like a one-trick pony? Like, that's all he got? I mean, if you can keep him out of that element, there's nothing there. How do you break him down?
Yeah, I actually rewatched the Ian McCall and Formiga fight from Tachi Palace. And
great commentary on that fight, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's, you know, he's so good at what he does. He's very precise with his punches. He doesn't overthrow. He commits to everything that he's throwing. He's very precise with them. He's counter puncher. He likes to throw the same combinations, I feel like, just at different times. His timing is really well, and he loves the back take. And if he gets the back, you know, he hasn't been able to finish his last couple guys with the back. He just likes to get there, figure 4, and just kind of wait out the round, I feel like. And he doesn't have the gas tank that I have. So I've never been afraid and shied away from taking anybody down. I've fought Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts before. And if I get in the top position, you know, I'm not afraid to let my hands go and drop some elbows and push the pace and just grind out, you know, a victory, because it's kind of what I do. So I'm not afraid to go to the ground. And with the stand-up, like I said, it's just staying away from what I know that he likes to do. Because, yeah, I wouldn't call him a
one-trick pony?
One-trick pony. But I know that he likes to stay with certain combos and mix them up at different times.
Right.
So
you mentioned, you know, coming up short last time out. I mean, you've had some mixed results in the UFC, but, I mean, the guys that you've lost to, top-tier guys. I mean, you're facing the absolute best in the world. So what do you feel like it's going to take to kind of reach that next level? Because I know you want to be at the top. Yeah,
it's going to take finishes. It's going to take exciting finishes. I got to switch it up, you know, a little bit and throw some things that the fans want to see, you know. And ultimately, we're in the entertainment business, and that's kind of what I'm realizing is you can't go out there and just grind out people and get the win, because that's not going to get you the recognition that you may deserve, because this is a very hard business. It's hard to, you know, get up every single morning when you don't want to. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, the sun's not even up yet, and you're on your way to practice. And that's what I went through this training camp. You know, it's very dedicated. Every practice meant something to me, you know, because I was driving an hour. Like I said, that's no joke, you know. So on the way there, I'm like, man, that Rufus Sport is like 5 minutes down the road, you know. So here I have a lot of time to think, and I just dedicated myself to that. And so it got me thinking, like, what do I need to do an entertainment stance. So I need to do something that's a little bit flashy, but still within my comfort zone that fans, want to see and get knockouts, get finishes. And because I'm fighting the best guys, for sure, that's there. No doubt about it. My first fight was in Brazil against a Brazilian, which, for your first time, that's pretty, I feel like,
You had a great career record.
pat on my back right there, and then I fought Moraga my second fight, and he just come off a title shot. So I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Do they think I'm that good, or are they just using me for a stepping stool? So all this is going through my mind, and then with the Benavidez fight, I'm like, man, I beat Borg and Scoggins, both undefeated fighters.
Top prospects right now.
And then they give me Benavidez, and so it's just, and then my last one, then they gave me McCall again, the rematch on that. So it's always been, top 5, top 10 guys, undefeated guys. And I've hung with all of them. I haven't been finished. So it's just time to really buckle down and get some wins. That last one, I felt that one. I felt I really should have won that. I felt I lost it mentally. So kind of re-gearing this time around, I'm really striving for the finish with this one, especially over number 3 guy. That'll put me back in okay, Dustin's been like this, but when I fight better guys, I feel like I perform better. So I hope he brings that out.
What's it like for you watching The Ultimate Fighter right now? I mean, like you said, you're facing the best guys in the world. You've been facing the best guys in the world your whole time in the UFC. Now you got 16 guys that most people haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
And they're facing off for a title shot. I wonder, as a contender, I mean, you know that you can't get a title shot right now because it's tied up for a little while. Is it frustrating at all, or do you understand it? I mean, how do you deal with that?
No, it's not frustrating. It's good, actually. I feel like I'm pretty happy because that's 16 more guys that are coming into the UFC. That's 16 more on the roster. That's more opportunities for me to fight more often, and with the little guys being, the lesser entertainment, I guess you could say, which I'm not completely understand. I mean, it's like 100 miles an hour a minute.
It's the most fun division.
That's what I thought. But everything's kind of slowed down for us. So with adding this, I don't know if they're going to add all of them. I'm sure, maybe. I don't know the details on that, but adding those guys would definitely benefit everybody. I think it mixes it up because I fought already so many of the top guys. Like, who do I fight next? In order to move up, I fight somebody behind me. That's not really going to push me up the ranks very fast. Or, saying, oh man, this guy fought so and so, and now he's getting title shot. So the title shot is not really. I think that'll come in the perfect timing. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to push it. I need to make paydays anyways. So working up. I'm still pretty young, 27 years old. Some people only get the opportunity, the title shot one time, so I got to make sure that I'm ready for it. And my last fight was just kind of like a sign like, hey, maybe you need a little more time to work on your mental game. And that's what I took it as, and that's kind of where I'm gearing my career.
Very cool. Well, it all starts on Saturday night. When you see this thing, you play it out in your head. How do you see this one going down?
I got to get the victory. There's nothing less, I visualize my hand raised every single time, and that's what it's going to take. That's what, you have to have this mentality of, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to push him, and I'm going to break him, and I'm going to get my hand raised at the end, whether it be submission, TKO, on the feet. It's going to be a stoppage.
Where's the thing now? How long it stays?
1 litro retornaval. These like returnable bottles?
Yeah. So you can bring it back and get yourself 5 centavos. I think that was Spanish. Oh, wait, really?
Antarctica.
Yep.
Guess I should actually look before I just.
Like, yeah, we're rolling. 30 minutes later.
Already gone far enough.
Already when I was like, oh man, I wonder how many people started hearing like period and birth control period, and they're just like, let's turn the TV on. We lost them. We lost the 3 listeners.
That's funny.
But it's like it has to be spoken of, and I
mean,
talked to John
especially in
about it
this,
before.
it's a big storyline.
Yeah.
And it's easier for a woman to say it. Like, even if a guy says it and they're 100% accurate, they still sound like It just sounds weird. You know what I mean?
Well, let's be honest. We would never be 100% accurate trying to talk
Okay.
about birth
No.
control.
No,
and
but
the
that's the
pills
thing.
and-
Like, I'm not a doctor, but you
just
look
play one
into
on
the
TV.
shit that you put in your body. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, I've done my research about it, so, and that's why I decided to go off of it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I know that it's not an exact. What I can tell for sure is that nobody can tell anything for sure. So
That's fine.
it's a gamble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what the fuck is up with the fucking pills.
All
I
right.
wouldn't do it.
No, it's risky. All right, rolling again.
Yep.
Shit, dog. I've been rolling.
That's what's up.